Um, any like big things that we should mention for streamers that are looking to either set up their own merch store or fix their current one or revise theirs?
I really want to quickly talk about printing methods. It's kind of boring, but it is good to know at least the basics. So direct to garment is using a bubble or inkjet printer. Basically, it's like running a t-shirt through a color printer. That's what a lot of the print on demand, actually, that's pretty much all the print on demand sites use.
Yeah.
That is pretty good. It depends on the t-shirt, what is actually the fabric used, if it's black or white or however they lay that down. They've gotten a lot better over the years too. It's definitely not as horrific as it used to be, and a lot of that stuff does. I mean, with all technology, like printer technology is still stuck in the 80s. I don't know why they can't make it easy to print things anymore. The whole nother topic. So that's my print side coming out. So direct to garment is definitely like what all the one-off print on demand stuff people use. Some will use iron-on as well, but that is really old school. That's printing onto an iron-on piece of plastic that you literally iron on to the shirt. It feels like you're wearing a piece of plastic. Not
Yeah,
definitely avoid iron-on. Yeah, that's when you can feel it. Screen printing is kind of the industry standard. There are many different types of screen printing inks and many different kinds of methods that you can do with it, but there are definitely cheap versions of screen printing and nice versions of screen printing. I personally use discharge ink, which actually dyes the fabric of the t-shirt, so you can't really feel the print on top of it. On the reverse side, you can go heavy plastisol, where it feels like you're wearing a shield. If you're getting into actually paying for a run of t-shirts, you should definitely get samples from your printer and definitely look into printing methods that they have available to them, because every
fulfillment provider will provide you samples.
Sure.
If they don't,
you
need to deal with business with them.
Exactly. You don't mess with them if they can't provide samples, or at the very least point you in the direction of a store that they have physically made things for.
Yeah. You don't get what you expect.
Oftentimes you will have to pay for samples. Sometimes you don't. But be prepared to spend a little bit on samples if you need to. And the last one is dye sublimation, which is super large scale. If you get to this point, you're probably not even dealing with the production of the shirts yourselves. It's not something I'm even considering touching for a long time. This is like thousands of shirts printed in China. There are like smaller scale stuff that will do something similar to that, but like if you're thinking like shirts that show up in Walmart or stuff like that, oftentimes those really soft ones, the really high quality stuff, even like the patterned clothing, all that stuff is usually dye sublimation, and oftentimes requires a huge product run to do something.
A lot of times when you look at a shirt that's like, oh, this is a retro or vintage shirt, it's either dye sublimation or like that mid-range cheap screen printing.
Yeah, and the advantage of dye sublimation is it's all colors. Screen printing, you pay per color, so it can get expensive. You can do a CMYK kind of print where they just print all those 4 colors and get like a halftone effect on it, which can look cool depending on the design. And direct to garment and iron on are full color as well, because it's literally just running through a printer.